Welcome to page 3 of my new channel, new sketchbook series, where I fill this sketchbook front to back with your suggestions. And we are just getting started, so now is the perfect time to follow along. If there is any imagery, techniques, or mediums that you want to see me try in next week's drawing, leave your suggestions in the comments, and I will do my best to memorialize them permanently in the pages of this sketchbook. So last week, we took care of the cat suggestion. This week, you guys gave me some really fun ideas to play with. One person suggested Raven, another person suggested Grace Jones' Vamp. We got the suggestion of a horse, and also food, specifically my sister's. And then we also got the suggestion of moon/star people. So these are some really interesting ideas to play with. I think the challenge this week is going to be that all these ideas are very disparate, so I'm gonna have to find some way to sort of unify them, but I think it's gonna be a really fun challenge to work around, so let's see what we can come up with. But with that being said, let's get sketching. For the first half of this spread, I'm going to try to tackle the raven and food items. The person who suggested food is actually a close friend of mine, so she specifically mentioned my sister's food. My sister is a chef who specializes in dumplings, so I'm going to draw some mischievous little ravens stealing some poor soul's soup dumplings. I'm thinking about how to unify all of these very distinct concepts. And I think there is a dark fantasy through line that I can try to emphasize. I'm also going to use a cohesive similar palette across the whole spread, so I'm going to just use blacks, whites, red, and green for a very energetic, moody, mysterious atmosphere. So with this video, I'm trying to take a little bit of a departure from my past 2 sketchbook pages. I put a poll out and a lot of you said that you would prefer a little bit more of a raw video style. And I definitely want to listen to what you all are saying sounds the most interesting to you. I think that I get scared of the quiet space. I feel like if I'm not stimulating you all for every second, you're gonna not be here. But what I'm hearing is that that might not be the case. And if you're saying, girl, back off with the editing, then I will listen and I will try to comply. So let me know what you think about this. I hope you're having a relaxing day. It's my Saturday morning. I'm trying to picture right now these sort of murky, hazy clouds. I was really excited about the suggestion of ravens. They are a very unique creature in this world. One of the few species that is able to demonstrate mimicry. We often associate that with parrots, but in some ways, ravens are even better at it than parrots. And they've often been given kind of a bad rap because they are black and associated with the supernatural and bad omens. But they are such smart and beautiful animals. Now I'm spending a lot of time on the background. That's because I really want to try to establish, I guess, the values of this image. I want it to be dark, but I want it to have some luminosity to it because the ravens will be black. So my goal is I'm gonna try to do a combination of this more real-time footage, but honestly, if I don't have any time lapses, it is gonna be a 3-hour video. Maybe y'all want that, let me know. But I think I will need to have some time lapses. And what I'm using right now is just Copic Chow. I don't know if that'll be in focus, but these are like the sketch markers, and I think they're a little bit of a lower price point. You can get like a set of them, and I had never used alcohol markers. I really like them, and they just cover so much ground so quickly. You're really able to build up some values and tackle the whites of the page. If you want to make rich drawings, you have to get rid of that white space on the paper, and these markers are just great for that. They are really fun to lay down some color. I don't know how some people make them blend so well. That's my whole thing. It's like, I watch these creators and they're just doing magic, dark magic, something not of this world. Another thing that I'm thinking about is like, this bird is more in the distance. This dumpling is truly the forefront of the image. And as things recede in space, they tend to lose detail. So I'm trying to embrace that cinematic perspective where there's objects in focus and objects that will be more out of focus. I'm just doing this real-time footage for the base wash. I'm about to be finished with that base wash. I think I'm gonna switch this to a time lapse and spend a little bit of time refining things, and then I'll check back in when I'm closer to being finished with this half of the spread. It's so funny because not 30 minutes ago I was saying, how do people blend alcohol markers? And now I'm like, am I the best alcohol marker blender in the world? I kind of feel like I had a breakthrough. So now I'm just gonna spend a little bit of time with a white colored pencil here or there, just to bring in slightly more definition. Honestly, I think we're at a pretty good point. I think I'm gonna call this one done. Ravens and dumplings. Thank you so much for those suggestions. And I hope you like this drawing. Now on to the next one. Now, before we move on to the second half of the spread, I'm going to throw up the first half here and give my quick thoughts on it. First of all, I just want to say I had so much fun doing this drawing. I had to get really creative to figure out how to take these very distinct concepts and unify them into a cohesive drawing. And that really led to a concept I would have never landed on my own, but it was so fun to play with. So I'm really excited to see how that plays out in the next half of this spread as well. So let's jump in. On the second half of the spread, we still need to take care of a few suggestions. First, a horse. Also, I need to incorporate a moon or star person. And lastly, I need to draw inspiration from Grace Jones in the movie Vamp. I'm going for sort of a moon goddess, warrior, vampire. That's a lot of different archetypes. But she's gonna be galloping through the night, and I'll be trying to pull from the stylistic choices I made in the first spread as well. I'm really excited for this one, but also kind of nervous. I'm also going to be working on the Grace Jones vamp suggestion. Like, such a good suggestion. I mean, they're all good, but every so often, I think this person specifically said, like, this might be good for your style. When people are saying that, I'm like, thank you for considering what might lend itself to the types of imagery I draw. Now, my sketch here was really loose. I'm getting a little bit lost in what I was thinking, but I'm trying to keep bold pops of red against the dominant color scheme of blacks, greens, grays. I'm gonna keep the hair of the horse and the figure red. But because they're going to be overlapping, I'm going to do my best using kind of similar line work to what I did with my raven drawing to keep some of the edges of the hair so that there's still a distinct shape between the two figures. And this is probably a different style of image than I have honestly ever drawn in my life. It's really fun though. This week, I'm trying to just embrace play a little bit more. I found myself thinking I should do a planning sketch for these sketchbooks. And I'm like, what are you talking about, girl? I keep needing to remind myself that this is a sketchbook. I think because I know what I'm doing will be observed, I feel the need to artificially try to make it a little bit more perfect than I typically would in a sketchbook. And I don't think that's gonna help me or anyone. There's such a lack of authenticity already on the internet. I don't need to add to that. I can have my imperfect drawings. That is a human experience that we can all bond on. You know what I mean? The fun of this is the experimentation. I am going to bring a lot of dark values into this drawing now. And I'm gonna try to kind of stay inspired by what I did with the ravens over here by letting negative shapes define these figures, the horse and the rider. Also, I decided to make her some kind of, she's somewhere between a vampire, an elf, and a nymph, okay? We've all been there, you know? She's sort of an amalgamation of just fantasy. She is the fantasy. Like, look at her. She is that girl. She's got her blowout, gorgeous red hair, natural, by the way. She doesn't know what box dye is. What do y'all like better? Are you more fantasy fans or do you like sci-fi? For me, I love high fantasy. I grew up playing MMORPGs. World of Warcraft. For the Horde, you guys, for the Horde. All right, I am loving this drawing right now. I have to say, I am just having so much fun this week. This is maybe the funnest I've had. It's been very exploratory. I'm in the final stages of this drawing here. I want to just use my white colored pencil to bring out some of what was lost here. The theme was, I believe it was star and moon people. So right now we have moon, but I need stars. I really want to just sort of make her this sparkly goddess. Big ol' sparkle here. This is one of those nice old jelly roll gel pens. That's all the hype. All the cool sketchbook illustrators have these, so I had to get one of my own. Okay, I like it. I was not sure at first. I feel like that's how I'm constantly feeling. And all of a sudden, I'm like, wow, that was so fun. That is our raven. That takes care of the food, and that is our Grace Jones vamp. Here's our horse / unicorn. Lastly, that takes care of our moon and star people. Yay! Now I have to say that overall, this has been the funnest spread in my sketchbook so far. Maybe it's just because it was the most suggestions that I've had to work with, but I really had to get creative to incorporate all of these different concepts into one cohesive drawing. The result is something fantastical and dramatic, and in my opinion, very unique. There's something really special about the fact that this is the culmination of several different people's ideas, unified into one visual language. Once again, I just have to thank you all so much for participating. It has really been a joy to play with the ideas you're giving me. Your suggestions really pushed me out of my comfort zone, and it ended up being extremely rewarding to lean into that, so I really can't wait to see what we continue to come up with together. But with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. As a reminder, my goal for this series is for it to be very collaborative and interactive. If there's something that you want to see me attempt in next week's drawing, let me know in the comments, and be sure to hit that subscribe button to see what we get up to next week. I can't wait to see you there. But that's all for now. Mwah.